Tonight, we're following developments on the impact of flooding on schools in Waldron. These are photos showing the widespread flood damage across the middle and elementary school buildings. The district says due to the damage, they will not be in session tomorrow. They say they'll communicate with parents and students regarding the rest of the week and any makeup plans for the day. An Arkansas Senate committee this week is scheduled to take up a bill that would improve the lives of those who get early diagnosis of Alzheimer's. The bill would ensure state and public school employees have access to FDA-approved Alzheimer's treatments through their health insurance plans.
These treatments do not offer a cure, but they do promise more time for families to participate fully in life, more time for families to, again, plan for the future. And state employees deserve that because they've paid into the system.
We'll hear more from the Alzheimer's chapter and the former teacher recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's tonight at 10. Governor Sanders has signed the Second Amendment Financial Privacy Act. It will take effect later this summer and will ban financial institutions like your bank or credit card company from tracking firearm or firearm-related purchases. It also bans the government from having any records of firearm ownership except for weapons reported stolen. This only applies to in-state purchases, and the Attorney General will be in charge of enforcing the law. Developing tonight, a second child in Texas has died from a measles-related illness. Health officials in Lubbock confirmed today that a school-aged child who was unvaccinated died last week. The doctor described the death as a result of pulmonary failure. This is the second death linked to a growing measles outbreak. The first death was in February, and it was another unvaccinated school-aged child. Texas has almost 500 cases of measles, and total U.S. cases are now double the number in all of 2024. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy says he plans to visit the state this week for an update. Americans are bracing for the week ahead after President Trump's new tariffs unsettled investors and sparked a stock plunge. CBS's Christian Benavides brings us the latest on what Wall Street is expecting this week.
President Trump's Commerce Secretary says the Commander-in-Chief plans to go ahead with his reciprocal tariffs on dozens of U.S. trading partners this week.
The president needs to reset global trade. Everybody has a trade surplus, and we have a trade deficit. We are paying away our future and our lives. The countries of the world are ripping us off.
The sweeping tariffs on goods from countries around the world set off the worst two-day Wall Street sell-off in 5 years. Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell last week helped introduce new bipartisan legislation to reassert Congress's authority over trade policy.
Consumer groups are announcing, and retailers, the fact that they want Congress to take this action up.
Republican Don Bacon introduced similar legislation in the House.
It's time that Congress restores its authorities here. And the Constitution is clear. The House and the Senate, Congress has the power of tariffs and taxes. And we gave some of that power to the executive branch. And I think, in hindsight, that was a mistake.
On Sunday, President Trump left his Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida, after taking part in the tournament. This week at the White House, President Trump is meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They are set to discuss new U.S. tariffs on Israel, as well as security issues between the ally nations. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
Here's a look at how trading ended last week. The losses capped off the worst week for Wall Street since the COVID crash of 2020. All three lost major stock indexes about 10% of their value in just 2 days. Now, since President Trump's announcement last week, viewers have been reaching out to our Verified team asking questions about what the tariffs mean and how can you start planning for more expensive goods. Megan Bragg is speaking with financial experts to verify the tariffs' impact.
A lot of people are worried about what this means, as many are already strapped for cash. So let's take a look at some of the tariffs and how you can plan now.
Our sources, financial advisor Mark Henry with Alloy Wealth Management, the White House, and the Council on Foreign Relations. First, let's take a look at the definition of a tariff. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, tariffs are a form of tax applied on imports from other countries and are usually passed on to the consumer. Countries have used them to protect domestic industries and to retaliate against other countries' unfair trade practices. Before President Trump signed the executive order for these tariffs, the United States imposed a 2.5% tariff on vehicle imports. Compare that to the European Union, which imposes a 10% tariff, and India a 70% tariff.
We have a huge imbalance. It's 3-1. So we're shipping American-made cars at the 1 and taking 3 in. That's a huge imbalance. It's not fair. And we have to get our country in balance.
According to the White House, the goal is to lower the national debt while keeping the playing field even. However, consumers are expected to feel the pinch from these new tariffs.
We're going to have to pay more for a while for the items.
For how long? No one has those answers. But what Henry does say, it's time to get your finances in order and cut back on spending.
We need to get our own fiscal house in order and be batting down the hatches. And I'm not predicting doom and gloom, but be prepared to get through maybe a more challenging season.
He tells us it's best to get the entire family involved and come up with fun ways to save money. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.